This is the very first Antlers and Hicks podcast video style. Look, I'm telling you, I'm venturing out. Recorded a guy tonight, Sam Chapman from Rocky Branch, Louisiana. Well, he's originally from Rocky Branch, moved to Florida, back to Farmerville. You may know that name because he just caught one heck of a fish on Lake Darbonne. A big one. Got him on here to tell his story. I knew it was going to be a good story. It had to be a good story. I mean, who catches a 12-pound bass, takes a couple of photographs, throws it back in the water? You're going to find out tonight why everything happened like it happened. Makes perfect sense. You're going to like it. I hope you like it. Man, I spent time on this banger. Look, kind of look like a backdrop, right? Like kind of a superimposed. No, man, this is real. This is a hornet's nest my granddaddy and me saw when I was about 10 years old. And I told Papa, I said, I want that. And by God, he got it for me. So, had a little bourbon tonight. Had a little conversation with Mr. Sam. I hope you guys like it. Subscribe on the YouTube. If you're on certain podcast platforms, if you look right now, you can turn it to the side. You'll be able to see the video. I hope you like it. Subscribe. Tell all your friends about it. Going to be a good one. Here we go. Sam. That was a once-in-a-lifetime event, wasn't it?
Oh, my God, man. Up to then, my biggest fish was like 6.5 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
You remember where you caught that one out?
I do. On a little creek called the Luder.
Really? You caught a 6-pound bass on the Luder?
I sure did.
Golly.
Grass out from the bank a little ways, so I went over there and cast it out past that grass up to the bank, and I was coming back, reeling that buzzbait back, and when it got to that grass, man, it blew up.
Did it really? Tight. And then all that, and then it started going under the boat. Were you scared your line was going to break?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of thoughts. My line was going to break, my rod was going to break. I wasn't worried about breaking rod. I was worried about losing fish.
Right. All right. Very first Antlers and Hicks video style podcast. I done messed up already. We had to restart. Mr. Sam is being extra patient with me tonight. But I got a guy on here right now that is really a trending topic in Union Parish right now. That's Sam Chapman, originally from Rocky Branch, Louisiana, right?
That's right.
That's right. Rocky Branch.
Big city, Rocky Branch.
That's where every Chapman originates from, is in Rocky Branch. And then they kind of branch out amongst the world. And that's kind of what you did, right, Mr. Sam?
That's right. Yep.
So you're in, go ahead now.
I lived there most of my life, moved off to Florida for a little while, but came back about 3 years ago. So.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
So you live on, what do you call home right now? You still in Florida?
No, I'm in Lake Darbonne.
Oh, you on Darbonne. Okay.
Yep.
Where around on Darbonne?
Pretty close
if you don't
to
mind.
Retz, if you know where Retz is.
Oh yeah, I think everybody about knows where Retz is. You know, he's got a hot thing out there right now, boy. That Retz has got a cash cow. Good thing.
We got it going on.
So not long ago, back in June, I believe you said you had something special happen to you on Lake Darbonne, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Caught a pretty good fish.
Caught a pretty good fish. Now, are you accustomed to catching fish like that?
Absolutely not.
That was a once in a lifetime event, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh, man! Up to then, my biggest fish was like 6.5 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
You remember where you caught that one out?
I do. On a little creek called the Luder.
Really? You caught a 6-pound bass on the Luder?
I sure did.
God, me and Mr. Sam was talking earlier about the Luder and some of the places he'd fished around. Of course, he named all the local holes, Darbonne Bay, on the river, and then he said on the Luder. And that surprises me that you caught a fish that big on that little old creek.
Did. Yep. That was a long time ago, too.
I was going to ask you about how long ago it was.
Oh, man, that was probably 15 years ago.
Really?
Yep.
You remember what you caught it on?
I do. Back in the day, it was it was a tequila wingworm.
Okay.
You know what a wingworm was?
I don't believe.
It's almost like a brush hog, except not as much there to move on the bait, but It just had two little wings coming out. It was basically a worm with two little wings coming out about halfway down.
Okay.
We caught it on right beside a big old cypress tree.
You remember what time of year it was? Was it probably around this time of the year?
It was probably summer or fall. One of them.
Yeah. I used to, when I was a kid, and I've told a lot of, I wrote this in an article I wrote on Lake Darbonne Live not long ago. When I was a kid, I didn't know no better. Of course, my kids tried this mess now, I'd kill them. But I would just take, like during the summertime, I'd just take off. Wouldn't tell nobody where I was going. I'd get on my four-wheeler and I'd go ride and I'd go back down in them bottoms in the looter. And I'd stay down there all day. You know, and if something happened, I got in a bind, hurt myself or whatever, wasn't a soul in the world gonna know where I was. And it was the best bass fishing was right now on that looter. Man, you could take a little beetle spin, or you could take a little, I guess, a little swim bait down there, and man, you could wear out them bass probably about that long. They weren't real big, but
Right.
for you to catch that 6 pound, that's something there now.
Yep. But that was my biggest fish up until June the 3rd this year.
Man. So now earlier I asked you, and like I said, we had some technical difficulties, but you don't fish tournaments or anything like that, do you?
I do not. Don't fish tournaments. I work out of town every week, so I don't get to fish a lot.
Uh-huh.
Usually on Saturdays when I'm
Right.
home. I'm home every weekend, so
Okay.
if
Well,
I happen
that's
to miss
good.
that Saturday, then I don't fish that week.
I got you. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tell me about the day that you caught that big fish. I want to know from stem to stern, from the time your feet hit the floor out of bed. How did that day go?
Well, a little unusual in the fact that me and my fishing partner, Ed Sawyer, we're always on the water at the crack of dawn or putting in. But I can't remember why, but we were late this morning for some reason. But we didn't get up to the fishing place until about 10:30. Very late in the day. It was hot. Sun was out bright. And we just got a late start. And I had bought a brand new rod and reel combo. And I had never used it before. So I had it all rigged up. I had my old favorite bait on there, which was a buzz bait.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically stopped fishing the buzz bait when the whopper plopper came out.
Yeah, that whopper plopper's hard to beat.
Because whopper plopper, you can, it's like a buzz bait except you can stop it. So anyway, that became my favorite bait. But I went back to the buzz bait, wanted to try it because I hadn't fished it in a long time. So I had my new combo rigged up. So I made a couple of casts trying to get everything adjusted right. And I was going down a bank or close to a bank, and there was some grass out from the bank a little ways. So I went over there and cast it out past that grass up to the bank, and I was coming back, reeling that buzz bait back. And when it got to that grass, man, it blew up.
Did it really?
I knew instantly. I said, it's a big And my buddy, he started going for the net, and I'm coming to the boat with it. I didn't realize it was as big as it is. I knew it was a big fish, but I had no idea it was that big. And when I got her up close to the boat, man, she took off and made a run, and my drag was way too tight. And I'm trying to loosen my drag and trying to play the fish and not pull too hard, and she came back, went under the boat. My rod was bent under the boat in the water about halfway up to the reel. Fought her out from under the boat. She went around the front toward the trolling motor. I'm trying to keep her out of the trolling motor. So she goes that way. I'm still trying to back off my drag so I don't pull too hard on her. And went out that way, and then finally got her back. She went on the boat again, and man, it was a huge fight.
It sounded like it was quite the ordeal.
It was quite the ordeal. And then finally got her close enough, my buddy dipped her up. And when we got her up out of the water, I was like, oh my gosh. I couldn't believe
I bet you were. Now, did you, when the fish started running and you realized your drag was too tight, and then all that, and then it started going under the boat. Were you scared your line was going to break?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of thoughts. My line was going to break. My rod was going to break. I wasn't worried about breaking rod. I was worried about losing fish.
Right.
But I'm trying to just not pull too hard and give her as much tension as I could. But yeah, I was worried about the line breaking. But everything was new. New line. Everything was new. So
what kind of line? Let's do an advertisement for your line you got on there. What kind of line you got on there?
Went back to old school, green trilene.
Really?
Yeah, green trilene, 15 pound.
15 pounds, yeah. Well, hell true, I know that, man. All that on that size fish, my word. So when she bit it, like how was it deep in there, or did you have her barely hooked?
No, I had her good behind. It's right behind the thick part on the top of her lip.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So I had her hooked good.
So you get her in the boat. Do what now?
I said, what was surprising to me is the fish was in about 2 feet of water.
Really?
At 11 o'clock in the day.
And the hot like that?
Fishing a buzzbait.
How about that? My goodness gracious. Well, I'll tell you, man, that was, that's just 2 feet of water. That's hardly, I mean, I don't fish a whole lot. I'll be honest with you. I don't do a whole lot of fishing. But I would think that fish would want to be a little deeper and a little bit more cooler water than 2 feet of water.
I would too. And I was not fishing for big fish. I was just fishing.
Yes, sir.
And it's just crazy the way it happened. Now, after I caught the fish and went on down the bank a little ways, there was a huge brim bed right there. I mean,
oh, okay,
huge.
Okay.
And I think she may have been up there feeding on the brim. I don't know.
Yeah, could have been. Could have been getting on some of those bluegill for sure. So, your net man. Your net man came through for you, obviously.
He did. He did.
Okay. And what was his name again?
Ed Sawyer.
Mr. Ed, you did a good job, Mr. Ed. I bet he was about as excited as you were, wasn't he?
He sure did. Yeah, he was excited. We were both hopping up and down.
Well, I'll tell you, man, that's impressive. After you caught the fish, tell me what went through your mind when you got her in the boat and you had a chance to really kind of soak it all in.
Well, first thing was, how much does she weigh? I'd never even seen a fish that big. So Ed was digging around looking for my scales, and I'm just trying to unhook the fish, not to let her flop and hit the deck and be gone. So I was trying to make sure she didn't get away like that. But he got my scales out. We weighed her. She weighed 12.2. And by the time all that happened, we got a picture. We only got one picture. It was 2 pictures, but the same. The fish had started to kind of dry out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid the fish was going to die. So I just put her back in the water, ran some water through her gills, and let her go. And she just eased on off. So I said, thank you.
And I think there's a lot of people have wondered why you didn't want to go and put her on a certified scale or anything like that. And I think you just answered that question. You were worried about that fish living.
Well, if I had it to do over, I probably would. I don't know why I didn't put her in a live well and go somewhere and have it weighed. My first thought was the fish is going to die because it was getting really dry. I was just worried she's going to die.
Now you ain't accustomed to catching fish like that, so I mean, that's a whole lot of going on right there to be thinking, and I can totally, from somebody that don't do that a whole bunch, that probably ain't never going to do that, I can't say I wouldn't be focused on that, wouldn't even thought about the live well, to be honest with you,
it all kind of happens fast, and just like you said, I'm not accustomed to catching big fish. It goes to show you that anybody can catch big fish. It's just right place, the right time. So,
well, I'll tell you, you did something that I know a lot of people who fish Darbonne are going to appreciate. I don't know who did it, and I don't know whose idea it was to do it. But the one picture you got, of course, you've got the original.
Right.
But the picture that's floating around social media, it's just your smiling face and the fish, because they blurred out the entire background.
Right.
Whose idea was that?
Well, that was my girlfriend Lori. That was her idea. But actually, Ed took my picture, and when he sent it to me, he blurred out the background.
Uh-huh.
But Lori put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But the spot I was fishing in, my neighbor told me about it. Actually, he took me up there about 2 years ago and caught fish there, over the last couple of years. I go with him. I've caught fish there without him, but never anything that, usually not big fish, but
Mm-hmm.
pound and a half, 2-pounders. So that was another reason I didn't really want to advertise the background.
I got you.
It's basically his spot, not mine.
I got. Well, I tell you, I don't blame you for blurring out that background. Ed blurring out the background. There's a crappie fisherman named Nick DeWolf. He's pretty good. And Nick, because everybody knows how people will look at a picture of a fish, and I recognize that boathouse, or I recognize that tree. Well, Nick took 2 big crappie he caught, and he held them up, and he superimposed. Now I don't know how to do it. I don't know if they use Canva or what they use. Big oil rig, like he was out in the Gulf of Mexico. and that really, I was like, see, that's good thinking right there. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you got the picture, but I'm kind of double glad you didn't. That y'all had the wherewithal to think to blur that background out, because Darbonne's probably going to get a little pressure behind it, but we don't want to pressure out, especially one concentrated spot,
Right. And there's a few people that have that original. So
Yeah. I've heard, I do the Arkla Team Trail, do the weigh-in for them, and I talked to a lot of people, and one of the guys said one time that it seems like the best years on Lake Darbonne are an election year, because that's right when they start, right before they draw it down and kill the grass, and all that grass came in, and that kind of goes along with the story right there. That fish was right along some grass, and there she goes blowing that water up, man.
Yep. She was in the grass for sure.
So,
Shallow.
yep. Well, hey, look, I know you just getting off work, and I don't want to take your time up, but thank you. I really appreciate you taking time. Folks, he said, when I asked him this morning, I told him, I said, hey, we do a podcast, or we can do like a video thing. He said, I ain't good on video. But you did really well, man. I got to hand it to you. You did a pretty good job.
Good deal. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate you. Yes, sir. I appreciate you taking time, Mr. Sam.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Talk to you later.
All right.